Hi, everybody. I'm Alane Freund, an international consultant on high sensitivity. I'm here with my friend, colleague, and fellow sister, international consultant on high sensitivity, Annette Zwart from Holland. Welcome. Do you say Holland or the Netherlands?
Well, they're actually two different things. The Netherlands is the whole, and then Holland is officially a part of the Netherlands
Oh, thank
to
you
make
so
it more
much.
confusing.
Are you part of Holland too, or not?
No, it's officially the Netherlands. And
Officially.
Holland is like Amsterdam and the Hague, Utrecht, those parts.
Wow. I
Yeah.
had no idea. I thought they were interchangeable. See, already I'm learning something from you. I asked Annette to come on and do some videos with me because Annette, one of the things I really appreciate about you is that you're very straightforward, smart, and empathic.
Oh,
And I think I'm just so happy to introduce you to my community and for me to get to know your community.
yeah,
So,
well, it's nice to be here.
yeah, so we were talking about when we met, which was back in 2018. You came all the way over to California for that weekend training with Elaine Aaron. What was that like?
Yeah, well, since Elaine invited me, I felt honored, and I was also like, "Oh, this is going to be great to get to know other people who work with sensitive people and get all this knowledge directly from Elaine." It's just like a once in a lifetime opportunity. It felt like so I couldn't miss it.
It was so cool to be in that room with, I don't know, 12 or
Yeah,
15 people. There were a few people attending on video, but
yeah,
gosh, it felt just like community,
exactly.
and that's one of the 5 to Thrive, right? That we need to know others who share our quirks, who share the trait, but
Yeah.
also any other way that we're different. So,
Yeah, exactly. It's so nice to be in a room with other professionals also working with sensitive people and know and talk about things and just get to know each other.
yeah.
It's really awesome.
And now we're the people that Elaine sends all the everything to. Oh, if you're in the Netherlands and you want to talk to somebody about sensitivity, call Annette. So, but it's great to also be to receive that recognition. I want to ask you, when did you first figure out that you were highly sensitive? When did it enter your life?
Um, well, that was a long time ago. It feels like it. I think it was just when Elaine, her first book came out, and I remember something 80, no, 97, 98, somewhere there, and I found the book in the bookstore, and it was just lying there on the table when you walked into the bookstore, and it's like, oh wow, that's somehow the title just pulled to me, and I wanted to read it, so I bought it, and it was just like, yep, that's totally me.
In your
Totally. Yeah.
in your growing up, in your culture, was there any stigma? Were you ever told you were too sensitive?
Well, my mother was very supportive, so I wasn't told that I was too sensitive or something. I mean, my mother wasn't highly sensitive, so she did found probably had some troubles with me sometimes and found me a little bit like awkward or like not fitting. She was a school
Yeah.
teacher, so she knew a lot of kids and also different traits, I think. And so I don't know, she had the knowledge how to deal with things that were not normal, I think. So that's something that was handled very good, I think. But in general, yeah, I think in Dutch, in the Netherlands, most people grow up also with we have this saying in Dutch. If you translate it, it's something like be normal because that's crazy enough.
Like
Like
that.
you don't want to be too crazy or too weird. So
Say it in
um,
Dutch. Say this expression in Dutch, if you would, for your Dutch listeners.
doe maar gewoon, dan is het al gek genoeg.
Okay, awesome. So being
Yeah,
crazy enough. I used to wear a little, button, those pin-on things that might have campaign slogans or whatever. When I was a teenager, I ran across one. It said, "Why be normal?" And I
yeah,
wore it on my jacket every day. That was,
yeah.
I got that I wasn't quite normal, but I decided to wear it like a banner, like a
Yeah, well,
sign.
that's smart. Yeah. I
You
mean, when I was growing up, I always knew I was different, but because you never there's never a label for it. I mean, I'm not such a big fan of labels, but labels can be very helpful, of course. And I always knew that something was off, that something is different, but you can't just put your finger on it, and you just don't know what it is exactly.
Yeah.
So when I found the book, it's like, ah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, I told you the other day my story that I was one of these people. I grew up on a farm in the southern part of the United States, and it was just, even though lots of people in my family are sensitive, actually, you're supposed to, our saying is the going gets tough. No, what is it? When the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Yeah.
And so, I was
Talk
just,
about that.
we were encouraged to, toughen up,
Yeah.
don't cry so much, don't be so sensitive. And, but like, again, so many people were sensitive, but I knew again that I was having too many feelings, or that I was expressing too many feelings.
Yeah.
But again, my parents, my dad tried to toughen me up. My mom tried to be so understanding. So I got both sides. I think that's pretty healthy. That's why I
Mm.
can function today. But I just, I don't know how I survived all the way until, because I only found out about 10 years ago.
Mm.
And a lot of people have heard the story, but for those who haven't, I was horse buddies at the barn with Elaine Aaron. She was a horsewoman, I'm a horsewoman, and all the therapists at the barn used to hang out together. And um, they knew I had grown up with horses, and my mom was a really good horse trainer. So whenever my friends needed help with one of their horses, they would ask me to help them. And one day in the parking lot, after Elaine and I had been hanging out, she came up and she said, I think you're a highly sensitive person, and I think your equine assisted therapy would be so great for highly sensitive people. And I was like, where do you get off telling me I'm highly sensitive? And I looked very confused, and she said, have you read the book? Have you ever seen the book or read the book? And I'm like, no. She said, well, why don't you look it up? She didn't tell me she was the author. She didn't tell me she was famous. She just said, go look up the book. And I did. And, the rest is history.
Yeah.
But like you, knowing that there's a whole body of research, and more than 1.5 billion people who are the same, it's just, it I felt in some ways like a freak, like an oddball. And it normalized it for me, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's why we're talking on YouTube, right? Because we want to get the message out
Hmm.
so that fewer people feel like they're oddballs.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think we still have time. Will you tell me a little bit about becoming a coach and your coaching practice?
Sure. Yeah. I've done all kinds of things in my life as a career, all kinds of different things. And when we were living in the US for 4 years because of my husband's work, I had some time for myself because I was not allowed to work there. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to use this time as growing for myself, learning something new. And I've always wanted to do something with people, only never knew what. And because I just also met Jacqueline Strickland there with the gatherings and all,
Mm.
I was looking at some point, like, how can I do something with this? And that's how I ended up with a coach training with IPEC. And the funny thing is, I didn't want to be a highly sensitive coach when I first was graduated.
Mm.
It's like, oh, it's too complicated and it's too difficult. And then when I started coaching, most of the people who came to me were highly sensitive. So
Exactly. My
yeah.
practice, too, same thing.
Yeah. So it sort of automatically went on itself to what was best for me also, I think. So that's how I ended up with coaching highly sensitive people.
And one of your other focuses is stress and burnout. Is that something that you think HSPs deal more with than the average person?
Yeah, I think I mean, Elaine also says it in her books that most of the clients in counselor and psychotherapy and therapy is probably highly sensitive persons. And I do think, yeah, I mean, it's once you have learned how to cope with stress, I don't think it's that you have more difficulty than others, but learning how to do that, because you're the 20% in a world where 80% is dominant, you can use some help with getting to get some really good self-help and practices to cope with it.
I mean, we always say the world is designed by and for the 80%.
Yes.
So that means it's never going to be especially easy, right, to live in this world. But it doesn't mean it has to be hard either. It just means we have to take care of ourselves. And
Yes,
I think
exactly.
be a little more conscious. Like for me, I can't just be barreling through the world pretending like I can do every single thing that's out there, or that I'm going to feel comfortable in every single situation. I mean,
Yeah.
well, maybe I should, let's don't go into other topics because we want to keep these videos short, but we're
Yeah.
HSPs, we're deep processing. We
Yeah.
could talk for hours, right?
All these things that come up when you talk about it, right?
Yeah, but it's so good. And I think
Yeah.
I think people enjoy thinking about these things too. So
Yeah.
let's sign off and we'll make a couple more. Thank you so much for being here, Annette.
Yes.